Oh, hey everybody. We are live. Welcome back to Mirror Mirror. Y'all, you know what? Normally what I do is I'll hurry up and start this show, but I'm gonna go slow because I want y'all to get the fullness of all of this tonight. So I'm gonna go slow and I'm gonna let y'all come in. I'm gonna give y'all a few minutes to come on in and I'm gonna try to see who on. Sometime it'll show me, sometime it won't. But I'm not worried about that. I'm just gonna take my time and y'all. We got some catching up to do because it's been what I think I went live and did Mirror Mirror one Sunday out of this month, and I missed y'all. So now we're back, and ooh, tonight it's gonna be so good. Hey Shay girl, how you doing? I'm glad that you joined tonight. I hope you enjoy it. Um, but y'all, so let me tell y'all, I'm gonna give you a little update about me and then we're gonna get right into it, okay? So last weekend, okay, so the first weekend I think in August, I went to Woman Evolve and it was good. And this last weekend, I was back in Atlanta and I went to the Bloom conference. Let me tell you something. Y'all, the Bloom conference was amazing. Do you hear me? Like the community of women, every woman in there was successful in their own right. They showed love. I mean, y'all, it was so beautiful, but it changed me in a way to where I changed the way I look at women and the way I interact with women. So now I have a new normal. Y'all, it was so amazing because to be before, it's like women were, when they come around me or when I have an encounter with women, they were always standoffish. I was told that I was unapproachable. I was told that, I was mean, or I feel like I'm all of that. But in this room this weekend, every woman that I connected with embraced me, loved on me. And y'all know what it did for me? It was confirmation that one, there's nothing wrong with me, but those other rooms, I was in the wrong room and I was connected to the wrong women. And so now there's a new standard. And so I'm so excited. Hey, Amber girl, I'm so excited to be sharing with y'all tonight. So tonight, okay, I said I was going to take it slow, but I'm too excited. Tonight, I have on with me one of my Bloom sisters, y'all. And so we were on a panel together. Let me back up. Let me back up. Let me back up because I'm moving a little bit too fast because I'm so excited. So, y'all, Dr. Rashana, prophetess, she has an amazing school. But I went through her school. I took her class called a Clarity. And y'all, I was just telling the guest that's coming on that just looking back over my life over the last year, I cannot believe that I am who I am sitting here tonight. Had it not been for her, because I've always wanted the transformation, but it's through her that I learned that you can't have the transformation without the process. And it was the process that I stayed running from. So, fast forward. I was on the panel this weekend with my Bloom sisters. But as this guest tonight began to tell her story, y'all, it's like she was screaming so loud. Her story was screaming so loud at me. I knew that I had to have her on for y'all. Y'all have to hear her story. And I'm not going to tell none of it. I'm going to let her tell all of it. But I want to welcome my Bloom sister to the stage tonight. I am so excited about it. Tonight we have with me Miss Sequay. Yay! Welcome to Mirror Mirror Sequay.
Thank you so much for having me, Kim. I'm just so excited and ecstatic to be here. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you for being here. So, on Mirror Mirror, what I wanted to do is create a platform or a space that was just for, I've had men on before, but women primarily, just so they can come on and tell them their stories, unfiltered, just kind of raw, just
Yeah.
as much or as little as they want to tell, because I know sometimes we don't have that. We don't have nobody that where we can just feel safe enough to
Right.
say, I've been through this, and and it's okay. And that's why I felt like I didn't have that. A
Hmm.
lot of times we're met with judgment. A lot of
Yeah.
times we're met with people aren't as genuine. I'll say it like that,
Right.
as they, portray to be, or sometimes they just don't know what to do with your story. They don't know what to do with you. That's a lot for them because of what they're going through in their own lives.
Right.
But when I heard your story, I was sitting there listening, and it reminded me of Abigail in the Bible.
Mm.
And remember,
Okay.
I told you, I said, I ain't gonna tell you who, but when you were telling your story, like, I can picture Abigail.
Hmm.
And like, she was married to Nabal. And the Bible does talk about, him. And I don't know if he was mean and arrogant because of his character or his
Right.
money, or a little bit
Hmm.
of both.
Both. Right.
But I was reading a story prior to hearing your story, and it's like God brought that story back to mind. And like when she was on her way to meet David, because I gotta fix something that he's done,
Right.
she's thinking she's on her way to meet David, but I feel like reading that she was on her way to meet herself,
Right.
because in talking to David, I feel like that's where she found that she had power. That's where
Hmm.
she felt like she had value. Like, I matter. Not only am
Hmm.
I a peacemaker, but I matter in what I have to say. So I guess starting out, go ahead and introduce yourself. And I have a question that I wanna
Okay.
ask you.
Okay. So thank you again for having me. So my name is Ceaqua Dodson, and I am originally from Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised. I am a mother of two beautiful children. They are my absolute pride and joy. They are honestly the reason, just why I do what I do, the reason why I endured what I endured. And I just thank God for them every single day. I have over 20 years of teaching experience, and I finally got out of the realm of just teaching a few years ago. And so I work for the Office of Head Start, but when I'm not doing that, I'm doing what I love the most, and that is just encouraging women, uplifting women. One interesting fact about me that you probably didn't know, Kim, is that I am a dance fitness instructor. So I started out as a Zumba instructor, and then so I teach
Oh,
a lot of different dance styles. But I will be honest with you, dancing is the bonus. It's truly
okay.
the bonus. So many women come to the class just to be in the room, just to be in the atmosphere, just to get loved on, encouraged, and uplifted. And when I'm not doing that, I am really big on family. I love making memories, but most importantly, I love spreading the word of God. Like, I take so much pride in it, and I love just encouraging women to everything that you're going through in life, everything that you think that you can't do or that you don't have the strength for. I love bringing them to the word of God. And because one a lady told me one time, she said, Sequay, you don't understand, you may be the only bridge between someone and the kingdom of God.
That is true.
And so that's just a little bit about myself. So I'm just so honored to be here tonight with you, Kim. I'm probably gonna tell you that like 50 times throughout the throughout the podcast, but just know I'm excited to be here, and I don't take it lightly that you chose me. So thank you,
Oh.
thank you.
Oh, that's my little heart. You can see it. Well, I'm so glad that you're here. Um, we have our Bloom sisters on. We have some of our Bloom sisters on. I see Quinn and Charlotte and Sharon and Kiwana and Prophetess and Alicia and Ty. I'm so excited.
Okay.
Y'all, and if you're not a Bloom sister, I'm gonna tell you how to become a Bloom sister. You gotta get in the
Yes,
room. You
have to.
gotta get in the room.
Yes.
But so as I was telling the story of Abigail, And I
Mhm.
feel like she had an encounter with David. I feel like David was her mirror.
Mhm.
Like Nabal represented her past, but David represented her future, her next.
Mhm.
And so he held up a mirror. When she's talking to him, I feel like there was parts of her that was being unlocked. Parts of her that she probably didn't even know. Tell us a little bit about your story, and at what moment did you come to where you saw a mirror being held up for you, where you knew there had to be a transition being made in your life, because you couldn't continue to go on. So give us a little bit about you know what you went through.
Absolutely. So so I've always kind of had a troubled past, right? Just more so on myself, of not feeling chosen, not feeling good enough. And it all started from a little girl, being sexually abused for years and not being able to speak up about it. And then when I finally did get the courage, I was told to be quiet,
Mm,
to don't say anything. It's the past. You're strong enough to move forward. You're strong enough to endure. And so I had to internalize all of that pain, especially when I was of age to truly understand what had happened to me. Because before, when I was younger, I didn't really understand. I knew it didn't feel right, but I didn't quite understand. And so I had to internalize all of that pain, all of that frustration. But really it was all of that hurt, right? I was
mhm,
really hurting on the inside because I felt like I was a good kid. I felt like I was a good girl. And so that began to trickle into my lifestyle in choosing relationships. And I found myself in a relationship, in college, and I ended up getting pregnant my senior year in college. And I'll never forget, I had an amazing support system, right? I had a really good group of friends, but I also had those people that was like, well, girl, you're pregnant now. You already done messed up, so you have to marry this person. And deep down on the inside, like, I grew up in church. Right
mm,
now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I probably didn't understand everything, but I grew up in church. So
mhm,
I knew, even in my tough times, I knew how to call on the name of the Lord. I knew how to drop down to my knees and pray. I knew that my favorite scripture was, and this was just something that I even as a kid, I just remember seeing it on the ark of a church in Atlanta. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. I didn't know what it meant as a little girl, but I knew it felt right.
yeah.
And so, even in my toughest times, I will always go back to that one scripture, right? So, that's the one scripture that I knew. And so here I was, I felt ashamed, right? I felt really low being the good girl. I was the good girl, right? I was the sweet one that everybody loved. And so here I popped up pregnant, and it was like, you have to marry this person. And even though everything on the inside of me said no, everything, every ounce, every being, every inkling, everything said no, but I did it anyway. And for 15 years, I was physically abused. I was verbally abused. I was emotionally abused. I was in a marriage where, to be honest with you, there was even spiritual abuse because I could not serve God like I wanted to. There was no prayer. There was no, let's come together. Like, there was nothing. And I felt like I was like trapped in a well. Like, I could see the light, and I knew there was a way up, but it was so far up. I just did not know how to break free. And I began to fall into this world of depression. Now, I always dealt with depression in my life, but this was a different level for me. I didn't want to look at myself in the mirror. I never wanted to hear myself talk. I was the person I was seen, but not heard.
Mm.
And I felt the only really reason people knew my name or knew who I was because of my name, because it was so unique. Like, I've
Mm-hmm.
never met another Sequay.
Yeah.
But other than that, I was a nobody. Like,
Wow.
nobody. And I began to act out. I began to do things because I felt that even being in this marriage, if I looked at somebody else and pursued another man, okay, then maybe that would make you leave me. No, it only made things worse. Here I
Yeah.
am, I was classified as a rebel at one point, so I had this attitude, this rah rah rah, but it wasn't because that's not who I was. It was because I was crying out for attention.
Yeah.
I wanted someone just to hear my cries, just to hear my pain, and not to tell me that just be quiet and endure. And a turning point for me, and I don't know if I've ever shared this before, but some people believe that there's no such thing as sexual abuse in a marriage, and that's not the case. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. And when God didn't intend that for a man and a woman, there should be intimacy, there should be love, there should never be a feeling of I'm afraid. And I remember in, I believe it was 2018, a friend of mine's, she lost her battle with breast cancer. Beautiful soul. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
never forget, I'm sitting in her homegoing service. I'm sitting there, and it's all of our friends from West Georgia were there. And it's beyond crying. I'm weeping. I mean, my soul is literally just, it's breaking apart in this church. And I'm looking at all of these beautiful pictures of her and just everything about her. And I envied her
Mm.
because she was gone to be with the Lord and I was still here.
Wow.
I was sitting in that church and I wanted God to take me. I did. I wanted him to take me. And I did not understand for a God to be a loving God, for a just God, for a protector, for a healer, that you would leave me here and take
Wow.
someone as beautiful as that. And I remember going home that night and I said, something's wrong. This isn't right. This is not how God intended for this to be. And that was a wake up call for me. That was truly a wake up call for me because I'm also anybody that knows me is to know me and to know that I love my children with everything that I have. I mean, they are my heartbeat, my breath, I mean everything. And I'll be honest with you, Kimberly, I refuse to leave them back in the world to endure what I endured. And so it was like, God, take us all together.
Wow.
And that was my wake up call. That
Wow.
was truly because it's one thing to feel like you're not enough, you're not important, you're not loved, but it is a completely different feeling when the person that you say I do to, through better or for worse, right, literally looks at you in your face and tells you that you were never enough. You're nobody, maybe 75% on a good day,
Mm.
and so that was my breaking point when I wanted to leave this earth, that I envied her. I literally did. I envied her that she was laying there and I wasn't.
So, okay, I want to go back just a little bit. So, as a little girl,
Mhm.
what age was you when you said you first started experiencing the abuse?
I was about 6 years old, 6 to about 12 years old. And I say six because honestly, that's just as, like I say, when I truly understood what was happening. So I can't even say if it was happening before that and I just didn't understand. But from the age of 6 to about 12 years old, I was sexually abused. And the abuse stopped. I actually lost an uncle who I was really, really close with.
Mm-hmm.
as a kid. And once I lost him, then I wasn't allowed to go to the other side. My mom wouldn't allow me to go to the other side of my family. So that's when the abuse finally stopped. But for 6 years, I was sexually abused on a regular basis.
So as a little girl, you were already kind of, shy and kind of passive, and then that happened and it started making you, kind of shrink a little even more. So when you got to college and you met this guy, what initially attracted you to him?
Just a simple, you're pretty. I want to get to know you. And what's interesting about this though is that actually he was actually dating someone else. So it was a more of a I was more of a secret. But because I felt that that was pretty much going to be the best I could get, right? I didn't feel like that pretty girl on campus. I didn't feel like, the one that, there was going to be eyes on. So I felt that even though I was a secret, right? And if there was anything to happen, it was always secrecy. It was always after hours, or it was always, when no one was looking. I still felt like that was good enough. Like I was willing to accept that because I was just looking for any type of acceptance from a guy that I felt that wasn't going to bring me pain. It wasn't going to bring me um, physical harm or anything like that. So it was really just the simple things. It was nothing extravagant. It was just like,
He sees you.
if we're in a room full of people, it's like a sneak hello,
Yeah.
and just that kind of cat and mouse, because I had never really experienced that before. And here I am, I'm independent, I'm out here on my own. So to me at that time, cat and mouse, that was enough for me because, I didn't know otherwise.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, as women sometimes we want to be seen.
Yeah, definitely.
But the flip side to that is the person, we don't even know if the person can truly see themselves, let alone see us.
That's
But
right.
because we don't see us, we just feel like we just want to be seen.
Yeah.
So from the time you met him, you said it was 15 years
Yeah, so
that you,
we were married 15. So we was married for 15 years. We separated at 13. And it just took, that was kind of right around COVID. So everything kind of got shut down, and just, which was a whirlwind within itself, because I
mhm.
mean even those 2 years were, it was such a just great turmoil. But yeah, so we were married 13 years, and then finally divorced at 15.
So you mentioned that the your turning point was kind of, when you started envying your friend who transitioned.
Mhm.
w- what happened next when you went back and say, I'm going back to this situation, but I know that God, you have more for me. I know that this isn't it, and this doesn't even represent me or you.
Right.
I mean, how did you make the decision to leave, or how did that all transpire?
Well, so this is when I honestly, like I say, I grew up in church. I didn't really have like a strong foundation. Didn't at all. And so one night I was just up on the internet, because during this time I couldn't sleep. I was trying to take sleeping pills to go to sleep, but even those weren't working. I was just breaking through them. And I remember, this is the first encounter that I had with Sarah Jakes Roberts. Didn't know who she was, had never heard of her a day in my life. And I listened to Girl Get Up. And it was something about when she said, Girl Get Up. And I remember coming in and trying to share that with my ex-husband. And what ended up happening is that I began to get anxiety because what happened to me as a young girl began to flood, right? And now I'm thinking of my baby girl. And here I am, I'm expressing how I felt to him and just, thinking as that's supposed to be my covering, right?
Mm.
That's supposed to be my covenant. It was completely dismissed and then it was thrown back at me. So I just made a decision. I made a bold decision. I didn't sit around. I
Ooh.
didn't let it linger. I didn't go from talk to this person, talk to that only person I dropped down and talked to was God. That was it. That's all that I needed. And when he said it was time to move, that's what I did. And so I went to my ex-husband at the time. I went to him maybe 2 weeks later, and I was just honest. I just said, I can't do this anymore. I want a divorce.
Mm.
And OMG. I mean, I've never seen someone in my life that was just so nasty, so condescending. And it was one thing that he said to me that I believe that was the fire that I needed. He said, "Well, you think that you're big and you're bad." He said, "I'm not going to do anything else for you." He said,
Mm.
"Nothing. So don't ask." He said, "I'm not doing anything else for you." He said, "Even when it comes to the kids, you want to do this by yourself, you figure it out."
Mm. Bet.
And I
Game
sat
on now.
there. Yeah, I sat there on the couch and I said, "Okay." And I began to move in silence. I did.
Mm.
I slowly began to get my credit together. I slowly began to put money here. I slowly began to make a plan because I felt that girl get up in my spirit. And what I felt like is that what you're not going to do is that you're no longer going to push me into a corner. You're
Mm-hmm.
no longer going to just keep me bound. So it was something about when he said, "I'm not going to do anything else for you." I said, "Okay,
Wow.
okay." And that was my turning point. That was and even after that, even when I began to move and I began to make things happen with just me and these two children, like I'm making it happen. I don't know how. Well, I know now it's God, but I'm making things happen. Then it was, "Oh, well, I want to work on this. I want to work on this. Oh, well, let's do this." And when I every ounce in my being, every bone in me said no.
Wow.
Enough is enough, right? And then once there was no budging, he said to me, "Okay, I'm going to make your life a living, you know what?"
Mm. But at
Okay.
this point, was you peaceful about your decision?
I was very peaceful about my decision. I there was when I say that when I would pray about it, the thought of staying kept me up at night.
Ooh.
The thought of staying, my soul wasn't at rest. The thought of staying, I mean, when I talked about the sleeping pills, like it was just like everything in me, it was wrestling with, I need you to listen to me. I
Mm.
need you to hear what I'm saying to you. I need you to focus on me. And that's just what I mean. Like I took it to God. Like I say, I grew up in church. I may didn't know everything at the time, but I knew who to go back to. I knew where to go to when I truly needed to hear from him. And when the thought of leaving and the thought of just me and my children will always bring me to peace. It will always silence the chaos in my life. And I stood on that. I stood that God would not stir me wrong. I knew that God was leading me into this direction, and I didn't know what was coming next. I didn't even know how I was going to pay my rent. But only thing I knew is that there was time for change, because what was happening is that I was teaching my son this is how you treat a woman. This is how you treat your
Mm,
wife. And then I was teaching my daughter that this, no matter what, this is what you're supposed to take from a man just because he says, I love you. That no matter, like, this is what I was teaching them. And I said, no, like, this is not God's will for my life. And I'm definitely not going to let it be for their lives.
that is so good because prior to you and I coming on, you shared was like, my daughter say, Mom, can I sit in?
Yes,
And I was saying like she went through it with you. So this is her celebratory moment too.
yes,
Because if nobody else knows, she knows.
she knows.
And so not just doing it for them or for yourself, but doing it for them too, because because I was sharing with you about fear, and I learned that
Hmm.
fear is generational, like the fear that I
Yeah,
was experiencing, and I learned that fear is generational. So the things that we instill or the things that we accept, some of those things be generational. Our kids are, it will
yeah.
experience it if we're not careful.
Hmm.
So you finally make up your mind. I would
Hmm.
like you to speak to a woman that may be struggling. We're gonna put a pause in your story
Okay.
just for a moment, because I know it's not easy to leave.
Yeah.
I know it's not easy to, get uncomfortable.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not easy to choose yourself. We choose the husband, we choose the kids. We don't
Hmm.
we don't know our identity outside of that. But I would like you to speak to just a woman that may be on the fence. I'm not saying we're promoting divorce or nothing,
Right,
but a
right.
woman that may be in your situation to
Hmm.
where, she's experiencing abuse, or or even hearing God's voice is, it may not be marriage, it may be something else that God is telling her to do. Just speak to her and tell her, just kind of how important it is to be obedient to God.
Absolutely. If I had to speak to that woman, I would say, I know that the uncertainty feels scared. I know that the quietness, you're used to chaos, you're used to the loudness, you're used to the troublesome environment. You are used to feeling so less than yourself. And I know that making a move and stepping out on faith, it seems impossible. You don't know when your next is coming. You don't know what your next step is going to be. You don't even know who you can call on in that time and who's going to be in your corner. I know that your pain seems like that it has captivated your life, it has silenced your voice, and that you are suffocating. But I'm here to tell you that you can
Jesus.
rise above. You can truly step out on who God has called you to be. Every tear that you're crying in silence, God, that's just a seed He's planting in the ground, and that harvest He will reward out loud. You are stronger than what the person in your life has pulled you down to believe that you are. You are stronger. You are loved. You are worthy.
Yes.
Honey, you are like, you can walk in boldness, and that you can truly overcome anything that you're going through. Truly step out on faith. Give it all to God. When He say
Yes.
cast all of your cares, not some of them, not the little ones over here, not, I'm gonna just talk about, He say cast
All of them.
everything that you are going through on Him. Lean not to your own understanding, but in
Yes.
all your ways
All your ways
acknowledge Him.
acknowledge him.
So when the days are hard, when the struggles are hard, when the world around you seems like it's crumbling, lean not to your own understanding, because
Yes.
everything that you're going through, He is building you for the person that you are becoming.
Yes.
You are stronger than that pain. Push through, stand up, hold your head up, call on God, and He will get you to your next. You are stronger
Yes.
than what you give yourself credit for.
Yes. Ooh, I don't really know what to say after that. That was powerful. But I'm gonna take it back to when you had your moment of a moment of epiphany, and I'm gonna say to her, to piggyback off what you said, girl, get up,
Get up.
get up. That's what I would say. Get
Yeah.
up. And that's what I love about, I feel special because we have a community of women
Yes.
that sometimes you feel fearful because you feel like you have to do it alone.
Yeah.
And we have an awesome community. I
Yes.
mean, I'm just looking at everybody that's on. I can message or call any one of these women and they're gonna support me, they're gonna encourage me, they're gonna motivate me. Get you a community.
Yes.
You have to get somebody because I learned you can't do it by yourself.
You can't.
You can't do it by yourself. You can't, and then you have to get some. For me, I had to get out of what was familiar. People
Mm-hmm.
that know you sometimes aren't the best support system for you.
Mm-hmm.
I had to. All I wanted was my tribe. I had to go way out here in the virtual land first, you
Right.
know, and meet my tribe. And I'm forever grateful for that because again, you need somebody. So you had people that you said you had a great support system,
I did.
but then you had some of those other ones. So, all right, that's what was.
Okay.
Let's talk about what is now. Where we
Mm-hmm.
at now?
Woo!
Because listen, sometimes we don't know what to do in transition.
That's right.
Prophets always say, I hear her say all the time, you cannot have the transformation without the process.
Without the
I wanted the
process.
transformation. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to go through the process. I hated the process.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't feel the process felt just as bad as the pain.
Yes, it
And
can.
I didn't want any of it.
Yeah,
But I'm learning now to embrace the process,
absolutely.
because I can look in the mirror now and see some of that transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So after you left, I know, what did you do with yourself?
Oh, I'm gonna be honest with you. I went through a refining process.
Mm-hmm.
God stripped it all away. Okay. And when I mean by that, everything that I was trying to do and to understand, and I mean, let's just be honest, like I wanted him to be real. I wanted him to get God right then and there, okay? Because I'm like, Lord, sometimes you be taking too long,
He,
okay? Right.
honey, he take too
So,
long
but
sometimes.
right,
I
but
love you,
honestly,
Jesus.
because I was so broken,
Mm-hmm.
the calmness felt strange.
Woo.
The quietness
Yes.
felt unfamiliar
Yes.
because it was no longer chaotic,
Mm-hmm.
because I was no longer being put down, because I was literally being lifted up now by my community. It felt intolerable
Yeah.
because sometimes when we've lived in an environment for so long, a toxic environment, honestly, to live in peace, it actually felt like I was going through sickness.
Yeah.
And I remember I literally dropped to my knees one day. I mean, when I say I had a nervous breakdown, I'm not ashamed to say that. I did. I had a nervous breakdown. I mean, here I am, we're divorced. 2, 3 months later, you're engaged. 6 months later, you're married. Okay. And
Mm.
made it public, right? And I knew that was a cheap shot because we don't even do public. And I remember I dropped down, I went old school. I went back to what my grandmother taught me and I went into my praying closet
Mm-hmm.
and I dropped down to my knees. And I remember crying out so hard to God. But this time, my prayer and my cry was different because I was no longer just saying, God, why did you let this happen to me? God, why did you let that happen to me? I was specific in there like, God, I truly want to be healed from this pain of somebody taking control and advantage of my body. God, I want to
Mm.
be healed from somebody putting their hands around your neck and leaving marks, and you're trying to cover things up. Like, I was no longer censoring my prayers, no longer censoring my prayers.
That's
I
good.
was no longer ashamed of just, I had to get to a place where I wasn't ashamed to say it to myself.
Mm. That's
Because if
good.
I couldn't be honest and true to myself, there was no way God could come in and heal me. And I remember crying out, and I'm crying. I'm laying it all out like on the floor. And I remember I heard the Holy Spirit tell me, go pick up your Bible.
Mm.
I was like, okay, that's different. I didn't know that you was gonna do that, but okay. So, so I
Here
went and
we
picked up my
go.
Bible, like, like that. I thought you was gonna like come like, with like a boom or some type of message, but he didn't do that. And so I went and picked up my Bible. And this just goes to show how at the time my spiritual maturity was not there, and God had me at a raw stage.
Mm.
He didn't need me for the theme, the theme biblical lessons. He didn't need me for the common stories. He needed for me to just read the word and understand it in its rawness. And I remember I opened up the Bible and I'm reading the story of the three Hebrew boys. However, it's not labeled the three Hebrew boys. So here I am. I'm just reading the story of these three boys. They don't, they don't want to bow down, and so it's like, okay, well, y'all don't want to bow down, so you get thrown into this furnace fire. It's because that's just what I'm reading, right? It's not clicking in my head that it's the story of the three Hebrew boys. I'm just reading this story. And what was so captivating for me, Kim, is when not only here he is, he's mad. So now he done turned it up 7 times higher. And the God that threw them in, he done burnt up because you and your feelings over there, but it is fine. And then when he says that they're walking through the fire and they come out and they don't even
Woo.
look like what they've been through. You can't
Yeah.
smell the smoke. Their hair isn't burnt up. It's not on their clothes at that moment. I said, God, you telling me that can be me?
Yeah.
Is that what you're telling me right here in this moment, that can be me? And
Yeah.
then when they came out the fire, because you survived and you went through it and you couldn't destroy what you thought you was going to be able to destroy on me, now you want me to come in, and now you're using me. You're using my time. And it was truly, Kim, just it was like a light bulb went off. And from there, it's like I hit the ground running in my word. I mean, every morning I was, and then it was ironic because then 2 days later, I'm listening to um I'm listening to a pastor on YouTube, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna talk about the story of the three Hebrew boys." And when he said Meshach, I said, "Oh my God, was that the story of the three Hebrew boys?" Like, girl, I felt so embarrassed for myself. I was like, Lord, I didn't even realize, but that's what God needed to do in my life. He
Yeah.
just needed the rawness. Like,
Yeah.
I just need you to read the word.
Yeah.
And I took off with the word, and I truly began to invest in the word. And I believe that this is when my Hannah season came up, right? When you have to when you have to step away from
Yeah.
when you have to step away from that familiarity, because
Mm-hmm.
now you feel that I felt the change, I felt the transformation, but my environment didn't look like that. My circle didn't look like that.
Come on with it.
And I had to begin to feed myself with more.
Yeah.
But then I also had to feed myself within a community
Mm-hmm.
that could also pour into me, but not just pour into me, that I could pull from.
Yeah.
Because when I started to see the joy and the happiness and the anointing on other people, it's like, oh, what's that? I want
Yeah.
that. How do
I
I
want
get
that.
that? I
But not
want
in
that.
a envious type way.
No, no.
And that's how you knew it was coming from a pure place and that
Yeah.
God was really working. Because it's
Yeah.
not like I'm trying to covet or I'm trying
No,
to envy, but it's like I feel like that's what God is calling. It's a more of a connecting or a calling, like you say. Like, so this
absolutely.
is, I call it a unlocking.
Yeah.
It's an unlocking because it's
Yeah.
like that's in me too,
That's in me
you
too.
know, and I may not know how to access it at this time, but it's
Hmm.
in me too. So that's where that iron sharpens iron. You connect with women, you know, that can kind of pull that out of you and that
Right.
can pour into you. And like I was telling you, it's like I before I got in this community, I felt like I was a reservoir because I
Hmm.
was always allowing people to pour into me.
Right.
But when I connected with Dr. Rashana in the community, in the Bloom
Hmm.
Sisters, I became a river.
Right.
And it's like now, you know, my pour is appreciated and it just flows.
Yes.
It just flows. So I understand exactly what you were saying.
Yeah.
My question to you is, how does that desire
Hmm.
translate into your now?
So that desire, just going
For
through
the
healing,
desire for more.
the desire for more. So just going through healing, taking call to pay. First of all, prophetess, you already know,
I
okay?
just don't
Like
care.
whew, I'll never be able to just speak too much of. I mean, it really changed my life. But going through that process, going through that, just that desire for more, it just really, really, truly unlocked a version of myself
Hmm.
that I never knew existed.
Yeah.
And now, just coming full circle, I know that it was always there because he tells us that he knew us before he even put us in our mother's womb.
Yep.
And so the desire to just to be healed was, it was really for me, it was for my children to make me a better mom, to make me a better daughter, to make me a better friend. And then I'll just to be honest with you, I had a desire for happiness again in my life. I had a desire for joy, for love. I truly felt because I went through such a long phase of feeling like I was damaged goods. I did. I felt like there would be nobody out there who would want me. There would be nobody out there who was willing to deal with just the baggage and the trauma.
Yeah.
Like baggage is one thing,
The
but then
trauma.
when you tack on trauma, like you're tacking on, I got to deal with pain, I got to deal with anger, I got to deal with frustration. I have to
And
deal with one day she hot, one day she cold. But I
grief.
truly felt once I truly embraced who I was, I strongly desire. I said, God, I strongly desire for true love. Love in your eyes, love
Yeah.
in your design. That
Yeah.
was the difference. Like that's just where that was my desire now. Everything in my life, I wanted it to be God's design. I no longer want it to be what I wanted, what I thought that I needed, because I'm just, Mary J. Blige said it best. Everybody want a bad boy, right? Good guys ain't no good, but or good guy. What is it? Good guy, bad boys ain't no good. Good guys ain't no fun, right? But
Hmm.
that was that old mindset. That was the mindset that the circle, right? When you're in that familiarity. But now, I truly just desire just love, happiness, joy, just someone that I wanted a redo of a man in my life
Come on, Jesus, with the
that
redo.
did not bring me back to that 6-year-old little girl.
Mm.
I
That's some good
wanted
stuff.
I wanted someone in my life that was strong enough to love me through it all,
Mm.
and that was willing, this is big, to wait for me, to wait for my healing, to wait for my comfort, to wait just until I was able to love myself. And that was another desire. Like, God, I wanted to look into the mirror and look at Sequay and be like, "Girl, you bad, honey." Like I did, because that was never me. Now my
Yeah.
my big sis, I hope she's on. That's my biggest cheerleader, honey. When I tell you, she is, she is truly like, "Girl, we gonna build you back up." But I didn't have that for myself, and that was a
Mm-hmm.
desire that I wanted, because how could I truly love and inspire and encourage and be the woman that God called me to be if I can't even look in the mirror and love the woman that He created me and the woman that He took through the fiery furnace? How
Yeah.
how could I be that? How can I truly embrace that if I couldn't even look in the mirror and truly love the scars that He left as beauty marks?
Yeah. Beautiful ashes. Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So you talked about Mary J. Blige, but there was another prophet
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that said, having a piece of man
That's
is
right.
better than having no man at all. I think her name
That's
was Betty Wright.
that is.
And I mean, we sung
Yeah.
it, but that is not okay. I'm gonna be that's
Yeah.
not true. I'm gonna say it nicely. That is an absolute lie.
Right.
Because I don't
Right.
want half of
I don't,
anything.
nothing.
I want God's
Nothing.
very best.
That's right.
Very, very best.
Yeah.
But in those moments where you are going through, because trauma feels easy versus healing.
Woo!
Trauma feels easy because that's what we know. And then coming
That's
out
right.
of it, even if it's not a man, but even if it's a sisterhood or a friendship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Pam said, "What y'all know about Betty Wright?" But even if it's a friendship,
Right.
you have to be careful that you are healed because you don't want a trauma bond, with anybody.
That's right.
So, coming out of all of that
Mm-hmm.
and now being open to loving and dating again
Mm-hmm.
and not wanting half of anything,
Right.
how did you? I mean, because I hear women say that, sometimes they have to just close their eyes and take a leap. How did you open yourself back up? I know all the things you're saying in the mirror. I know
Mm-hmm.
your desire, but what was the moment where you say, okay, this is because do you have somebody now?
I do. I do. I do. Um,
Oh,
so once I went through, I took Call to Clarity, and I know people hear us mention that, but I'm pretty sure you'll kind of tell what that is. But I remember when I took Call to Clarity, I can't even remember how many weeks it was. So I'm just gonna say, if it was 7 weeks, honey, I cried for the first 6 weeks. Like but along the way, I met some really, really beautiful women in my life. Some of them I've met along my journey, my spiritual journey. Some of them I've coached along the way. But they truly built that community around me that began to help me to see myself the way that God saw me. And that was the first thing, right? It's just really truly just being loved on by women
yes.
and not tear it down, not, oh, she thinks she this and she think, I mean, but truly women that you can call in the midnight hour and just like, when I'm truly going through, that was a big step for me. That was a big step for me. And I remember when I decided that, okay, God, I really want to try this again. I really want to, because I'm gonna just be honest. I wasn't in my mindset. I'm like, I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have the best track record.
Yes.
Okay. And I mean, I'm just speaking from a place of honesty. And so I remember I was taking this class with this preacher, with this pastor one time, and she said she wanted us to write a letter to our future husbands.
Mm.
I'm gonna skip this part. I'm gonna go straight to the house part. I'm gonna write my letter about the house that I want. What I want for my kids. And then it was amazing because about maybe 5 minutes later, she came back and she was like, for those of you who are doubting me, and I was like, oh no, she didn't. Like, okay. So back in 2022, I decided that, okay, God, I'm gonna step out on faith, right? I wasn't looking. That's not what I was doing. And I just remember writing a letter. I just wrote a letter to God, and it was just between me and just he and I. And it was just secret desires of my heart. Some big things and some just little things, like things that you wouldn't even, that you wouldn't really tell anybody because you don't want to feel like you're being picky. But sometimes when you've been hurt
Yeah.
in your life, sometimes the little things speak volumes.
Yes.
It's not always about materialistic. Sometimes I may just want you to come in and dance with me on, a slow song, or, I may want to, go out for a jog or something like that, or, just the little things.
Yes.
And I remember writing this letter, and I just tucked it away. I wrote it, I tucked it away. But I do remember praying to God, and I was just like, God, if this is your will, if it's your will, then I'm gonna let you do it in my life. I'm not gonna go out. I'm not gonna go out on my own record. And so I end up bumping into someone who I actually dated in high school.
Mm.
All right.
Okay.
And we lost contact, and it was for years. It was maybe 18 years, almost 20 years, this
Wow.
gap. And so I ended up bumping back into him, and I was kind of looking because he, we in the city, right? I knew he loves the city life, and I'm, in a small town in Georgia, Douglasville. So I'm like, I know he's not out here, but okay. And I just, I didn't press. I didn't really do too much. And I remember we went on a retreat. And I don't know if Ty is on here, but I'm gonna give Ty her kudos. I'm gonna give her
She's on.
flowers. She's on.
She's
And I'll
on.
never forget this. I'll never forget this. We were talking, and she says, Sequoia, I'm just, Ty, Sequoia, I'm just so, you're just so sweet. And I just love, just seeing you grow and everything. And, she was like, so tell me about your little friend. I was telling him about him. And I said, but I don't know, Ty, I said, because I got my eye open. And she stopped me right then and there. She
Wow.
said, Sequoia, let him love you.
Oh,
She said, if he wants to love you, let him love you. She said, you'll never know what you may be pushing away.
I love Ty.
I love Ty. And,
Yo,
and
I
I
gotta
kind of
get you
sat
a
right there
Ty.
because it's like I really couldn't roll my eyes at Ty like it's Ty. I'm like, okay, Ty. And so I just went on, I just went on, and I just let the relationship just progress itself. And I will never forget this. July 4th of this year, I remember a few days prior, I had a conversation with my ex-husband pertaining to my daughter. And I really tried to express to him just how some things that she was going through, some things that she had been going through, how it was affecting her gravely. I mean, and immediately it was like, oh, I haven't done anything to her. I don't, and it just crushed my soul because I'm looking at her and I see how much she's hurting. And of course, the mama bear in me, because keep in mind, I'm a mama bear. I wanted to lash, right? But I didn't. And I remember sending him a message just about the spirit of offense, when you offend somebody. And I got up that morning, 4th of July, about maybe 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm praying, and I'm just pouring out to God, just crying, weeping. And I go to get my journal, and the Holy Spirit tells me, skip a page.
Mm.
And on that page, it says, I wrote down verbatim, it says, a fresh new journey. Okay. Then at the bottom it says the fresh new start, and then at the bottom it says my journey, my new journey. That was it. I began to journal about my desire to wanting to be a wife again. I began to just to talk to him in that moment, and I just told him that God, that if it was the will, your will for my life, that I would let you take control. But I truly just talked about just my desire to truly wanting to not just to be loved by somebody, but to love someone who has loved me so much, that has just really opened up this world to me, and my that accepted my children as his own. This is just between me and God, you know. Then I go on the next paragraph and I said, I'll never forget. It says, another thing I want to talk to you about. And I wrote down my ex-husband's name, and my phone rung. Phone never rings doing because who's up at 5 o'clock in the morning? Like, let's just be honest. On my with my crew, never got a chance to come back to it. They just took off, whatever. And Kim, by 3 o'clock that evening, maybe 3:30, I was proposed to.
Come on here,
And
Jesus.
and I just remember, of course, I was overjoyed, but I was weeping because God is so intentional.
He is.
And I tell people all the time, I can't make it up. And I'm like, God, so you just like you really just kind of snitched on me today. Like, you saw what I wrote, and then you went and told him about it, and then like he was able to pull this off in like, 2-3 hours or whatever. But it just really goes to show God's faithfulness.
Yes,
And God is absolutely able to restore
he is.
everything that the cankerworm stole, because we focus so much on what we lost, and we never look at what we have left, and what God can literally take with what we have left and what he can do with it and multiply it. And the
Yeah.
beauty about it, Kim, is that even the proposal itself was literally just how it went, just having it was so many friends and family there. It was I can't even make it up. But even that was just a secret desire in my heart that I didn't even write in my journal that day.
He
I left
knows.
I left it in my heart because I didn't want to be picky.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be picky.
That's the great thing about God. We are the apple of his eye.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he loves us so much and he's so intentional to sometimes he come off just a little messy.
Look,
Just a, just a
little
little.
bit, little bit.
But that's a joke, y'all. But I have to, you know. But it's like even with forgiveness,
Mm.
I didn't learn how to forgive until I got in the call to clarity. And it's like
Woo!
I learned, I'm telling you, because it was like if you don't forgive, you become the person that hurt you.
Hurts.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's like I know I'm
Yes.
nothing like them. And so that's what makes this journey so beautiful because you have one, you have God with all the intentionality because even though it may catches us by surprise, it doesn't catches
Mm.
him by surprise. Like he knows. And Lord, I be like, okay, I could have made a better decision. Like I take a full accountability of
Right.
the things that happen, but his grace and his mercy is so good that he always works it out for my good.
Yeah.
Always.
Always.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
That is
Thank you.
a
Thank you.
beautiful love story.
Thank you.
So
Thank
so
you.
beautiful because sometimes we'll have the desire but fear will keep us,
Yeah.
from actually allowing it to happen.
Yeah.
It's like, God, I want to love again, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you got any of them left that's good for me. And
Yeah.
here it is, somebody you went to high school with.
High school. High school. And
Wow.
then it was amazing because when I told my aunt, right? Because I lived with my aunt and my uncle in high school. So when I went back home and I told my aunt, She said, "Oh, the boy that kept coming by the house every few years, leaving his number in the door for you." I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Yeah, he kept," 'cause and she even called out the years. She was like, "I think it was like 2006, 2008, 2010." She
Wow.
said he literally came to the house about three times, about 2 years in between, and would leave his number in the door and say, just have her to call me. Because the interesting part is that growing up, my childhood nickname is Quay. So a lot of people know me as Quay, or you may hear people say Coach Quay. Well, to be honest with you, he probably gonna kill me if he see this, but he didn't know how to spell my name, like Suckway. Because most people, you hear Suckway, they want to spell it with an S.
Hmm.
And so, but because my whole, in high school, he always knew me as Quay. And then my last name was changed as well. So, like, I mean, clearly you put Quay on social media and nothing populates. And
Yeah.
so for those years, he honestly had been looking for me. And then since 2018, we actually was living in the same cities at the same time since
Wow.
2018. So when I live closer to Carrollton, I mean Villarica, he lived there. Then when I transitioned to Douglasville, his family but we never crossed paths.
I,
Never.
the Lord God, will make it happen when the time is right.
Yeah. Never crossed paths. And we were
Wow, that is
literally in the same city.
beautiful. That is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow, this has been awesome. I had this
Hmm.
whole show planned, but God just had his way. I just went with the flow. I just let God
Yes.
do what he needed to do. Um, so have y'all set a date or that's just to be announced?
No, no. We are. It's so funny because I know some people on here gonna be like, "Girl, what did I tell you?" So, we're definitely looking into next year around the October time. So many people's like, "Girl, I just need y'all to go ahead and get married now, and we can have the ceremony later." But, I'm gonna be honest with you. I want to do it in not just my timing, but God's timing, because the first time I settled, I'm gonna just be honest. I settled. Um, I We were planning a wedding, and then all of a sudden he didn't want to do it. He had some religious things going on with his family where he couldn't really talk to people, so I felt bad. Long story short, I settled for going to the courthouse. It's nothing wrong with that. That just wasn't my heart's desire. And so this time I really want to make sure that God is in the forefront. God is the foundation. And this is something that I didn't have to pray for. This actually came, like, he has his own relationship with God. It's bad when you
Mhm.
get left for church because you taking too long, and he just take the kids and they going about their business. It's like, okay. But I really just want God to just really be in the midst. I want him to be at the forefront. Um, and then this is his first marriage. And so I just really just want God to just really get all the glory, like just all the glory. So we're looking into October of next year.
Y'all gonna have me
um
all in Georgia all year long, and I love that for me. I love that for me.
yes, yes.
But
So
before, I just want to make this one thing clear.
mhm,
So I heard all your points,
mhm.
and one of the things you said was, I also want a man that's gonna wait for me,
Yes,
my healing, my
yes.
body, everything. Did he answer that prayer too?
He answered that prayer. When you're going through healing, right? I We always want the end result. We just boom, just take me straight to the end. But that process, that process can be painful. That process can be hard. Sometimes the process can be devastating. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I miss the mark in the process. I'll be honest with you. You know, healing is not an it's just not a I wake up one day and I'm healed.
Not a one
And this
size
was a
fit all.
person, right? This was a person that when I was still crying over my ex, that was there to wipe my tears away. That
Mm.
was still there to lift me up and encourage me. In the times where honestly, I told him, I said, I would have left me a long time ago. You know, he was still there to endure. And one of the things that he said to me, this is maybe about a year ago, he said, at that point, I was like, you know what, I'm leaving and whatever. But it was because of my own fear. I felt that I was the problem. I felt that I have so much going on to where I just like I don't think I'll ever be put together to love again. And he says to me, he says, Quay, I just don't believe that God would bring us all the way back almost 20 years later for me to walk away, for us to walk away again. And he said, for me, I'm not going anywhere, no matter what you say,
I
no
love
matter
that.
what you do. Like, I mean, like, for like Kim, I could, it's so funny because I think I called Pam and told her this one time. I gave this long message on how I wasn't good enough and you just need to go on because I got all this stuff going on. I mean, it was long. You know how like, people do, they send you this paragraph. And literally the response was, okay, babe, we'll talk about it later. Have a good day. Love you. What?
I'm not feeding into that.
I just like I just gave you all of this stuff. But it was every no in me was a yes in him.
I love that.
Every no in me. Everything that I
Woo.
felt I was unworthy of. It's like you're deserving. Every time I felt that I wasn't enough, you were more than enough.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that I inspired to do is like, where do I show up? Where
Wow.
do I where do I just sit in the parking lot? Do I even when we did Bloom Hill and Bill, he dropped me off. He said, "Oh, do I need to walk you in?" No, like I'm just walking down the hall. But it's just
Come on here,
whatever I
Jesus.
need to do to build you, whatever I need to do to encourage you, whatever I need to do to lift you. In the moments when you don't have enough faith, I have enough for the both of us.
Yes.
And that's just that's just the beauty in it. But God did his thing. He
God
really
did his big
did.
one.
And
He did a
yeah,
big one. Come on,
he did
Jesus.
a big one. He did a
So,
big one.
women, listen, I love y'all. I'm talking to the single women now. I love y'all. So, make sure that you're listening to Jesus and not
Hmm.
Jesus. Okay. I know it's spelled the same, but he's not the same. We
Yeah.
got let Jesus do it. If you just take anything from what Sequay said today, man, for me, it was the girl get up. For some of y'all, it was the fact that she said, God, I'm ready. She told God yes. Or it was the fact that she listened to her friend, gotta get you a tie, that says, girl, let that man love you. No matter what you've taken from her story today, just know that this is not the end for you and
Mm-mm.
that you have to go through the process. Because if you would have stopped or if you would have stayed stuck, you wouldn't have been over here engaged
That's right.
and ready. That's what I'm talking about. I don't have mine on, but that's what I'm talking about. Love that. And that smile, girl, would light up
Oh,
any room.
oh, thank
You are
you.
beautiful. Baby,
Thank
let me go
you.
on here and find that comment real quick that said, let me go back real quick. Huh? Right here. Look what Pam said.
Oh,
Bloom Sisters bridal showers. It's loading, y'all. We okay, Charlotte, Ty. Um, who else? Kiwana. We gonna be in Georgia, y'all. I'm just saying, we gonna be in Georgia. This has been amazing. This
Thank
this
you.
really has been amazing.
Thank
I
you.
want to thank everybody that was on. Um, Sequay, you superseded um my expectations.
Thank you.
This was amazing.
Thank you.
Before we get out, I'm gonna give you the last word. And you already spoke to the woman that may be going through,
Hmm.
and you told her that it takes courage, but she can't afford to miss God in this next season.
That's right.
You have to be obedient because what God has for you in your next is going to blow your mind. But what I want you to speak to that woman that says, "I'm waiting and I'm ready."
Hmm.
So you spoke to one that said, "I'm on the fence." But this one says, "I'm waiting and I'm ready." And
Hmm.
you're going to take us out with this one. Talk to her and tell her what she needs to do, because she might not want to get married again.
Right.
She just needs a little clarity. Talk
Right.
to her and tell her what can she do in her waiting season.
Absolutely. In your waiting season, you have to have faith. You have to believe and you have to know that you are a rose that can grow from concrete.
Oh,
You are
I
deserving
love that.
and that God knows all of your desires. He knows all of the areas in which you have pain. He knows all of the areas in which you need joy in. He knows that you need a protector. He knows that you desire a healer. He knows that you are looking for a provider. Most importantly, he knows that you're just looking for someone to just love you, to just to be able to wipe your tears away, be able to put a smile on your face, to bring you simple joy, to love your kids as their own. First and foremost, you got to love you. You have to look in the mirror and know that you are beautiful, you are fearfully, and you are wonderfully made. Nothing that you are going through is meant to shatter you. It's only meant to build you
Yes.
and to build a house that God has prepared for you. And the more that you lean into Him with all of your cares, not some, not the ones that you feel embarrassed about, but all of your cares, God will take all of those wounds and turn them into beauty marks. And He will bring someone your way that will be able to love you for who you are, what you've been through, and where He's taking you. Keep the faith. Keep loving him, keep trusting him, but most importantly, keep in his word. Let his word continue to guide you. And in those times of uncertainty, lean into people in your life that is in a faith-based community. Lean into people that in your life that has a relationship with God, that can
Yes.
hold you up in the times where you want to fall, when the times where you feel weak. Lean into those people that can hold you up, build you, encourage you, inspire you, and love you. But please know that you are worthy
Yes.
of everything that God has for you, and you never have to settle in his word.
Yes. I love that. Woo. That that was amazing. That was beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
just enjoy being until
That's
you
it.
become everything you want to. Y'all, this has
Yes.
been amazing. I am appreciative of everybody that tuned in. Listen, didn't she bless us? Man, that was a beautiful love story.
Thank
And
you.
just to know that, hear your growth,
Hmm.
feel it.
Yes.
We feel your passion. We see the transformation through your smile. I mean,
Thank
man,
you.
it's just lighting up. But y'all, as always, I thank y'all for tuning in to Mirror Mirror. Remember, The mirror is just not reflective, it is also healing. So if you can see yourself, you can free yourself. I am Kimberly Washington. This has been an amazing time with the beautiful Ceaqua Dobson. We don't know what her last name is going to be next, but we're here for it. And you guys, thank y'all. We'll be back next week. Same time, same place, same space. All right. I love y'all. And y'all have a good night.